Canada and the US have world-class universities, so you cannot go wrong either way. You can't go wrong. That's just, but we are making this video just to give you more information and to equip you to you know, have some information, you know, when you're making a decision between Canada and the US. So this, don't hold anything too tight. Okay, obviously you want to do your research as well. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Anne. I do videos on graduate school, undergraduate school, immigrant life, because I live in the US, and I am a professor of public health, and welcome. Okay, so we are talking about the differences between Canada and the US in terms of graduate school. And I want to make this video three tiers. So I want to talk about 1 second. I have my notes here. I do a lot of research for these videos just so I'm not like giving you guys incorrect information. Okay, so I want to talk about the quality of education. I want to talk about job opportunities after your education, and I want to talk about immigration issues, because those are, I mean, if you are watching this, that's all you care about, really. I mean, I hope you care about the quality of your education. I hope you just don't want to leave Nigeria or leave your country. I hope you care about what kind of education you're getting. The general consensus, right, among students, among employers around the world is that America, the US, has pretty much the best educational system, like the most valuable, let me not say best, the most valuable educational system. Okay, let's do an exercise. Okay, let's say I give you 3 universities. I give you University of Toronto, which is the best university in Canada, University of Toronto. I give you University of Oxford, which is #1 in Europe, and then Harvard, right? Let's say, which would you pick? Like, let's say, forget about immigration, forget about anything. You see in Harvard, Oxford, Toronto, University of Toronto. Which is the first one that you would say, ooh, I want to go? It's Harvard, right? Let's say you're employing someone. Let's say you have 3 candidates, 1 from Harvard, 1 from Cambridge, from Oxford, 1 from Toronto. Harvard just stands out. So that is just what applies, right, in general, because the US education just has more value. It doesn't, I don't think it means that the educational, like what you're learning is better. I really don't think so. I just think the US has packaged themselves so well. Their packaging is awesome. So anywhere you go in the world, if you have an American education, it's just more valuable. So in that sense, I'd say definitely the US wins. Yay! In that area of value. Okay, so tuition differences. So Canada is generally cheaper when comparing 2 equally ranked universities. Obviously, there are private universities where schools in Canada, like private schools in Canada, may be more expensive than like public schools in America, right? But if you're thinking, if we want to compare 2 equally ranked universities, so in this case, I would pick McGill. So McGill, I think that's what it is. McGill University is ranked, you know, pretty evenly on par with UPenn, University of Pennsylvania. However, UPenn is almost 3 times the cost of McGill. So for a master's degree in UPenn, you're spending around $53,466. Yeah. In McGill, you're spending around $15,637. So I mean, UPenn costs over 3 times McGill, and yeah, and they're ranked pretty evenly, right? So again, back to packaging. If you go anywhere and you say, "Oh, I went to UPenn for school," people are gonna be like, "Ooh, nice." But if you say McGill, you probably don't even know what McGill University is. So that's the thing. Packaging. America is really good at packaging. That's just what it is. Very good. Okay, so testing. So the US mostly, pretty much every graduate program in the US requires that you take the GRE. Obviously, that is changing, right? A lot of schools don't even, some programs don't require the GRE anymore, but a lot of schools still require, most schools still require the GRE. But in Canada, they don't really require the GRE anymore, like at all, really. Some schools do, but the US requires more stuff. Like just getting into school in the US is just much more harder. It's just harder than getting into school in Canada. Because you have to write the GRE, and the GRE is really hard. I want to tell you guys, I wrote the GRE 2 times, because the first time I failed, and then the second time I did better. So the GRE is pretty hard. Okay, and then so these are all of the things to kind of consider before you start your program. All right, so in Canada, they generally require that you have a master's degree before going to a PhD. In the US, it doesn't matter. You can go from your bachelor's degree to a PhD. You can skip a master's altogether. It doesn't matter. So that's one difference. So if you're just graduating from your undergrad right now and you're like, I want to do a PhD, you would probably get in a US institution easier than a Canadian institution, because in Canada they always want you to have a master's at least. Well, some of the top universities in the US are Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Princeton, Yale. You guys know, like, the US just has more like more grit, more name, right? The top universities in Canada: University of Toronto, UBC, McGill. You probably don't know any of those, but those are really good universities as well. So keep all that in mind, okay? Okay, so something to also consider is the weather. The weather in Canada is brutal. Cold. Insane. The weather in the US, though, if you go to a place like California, Texas, Florida, I mean, the weather is awesome. If you're coming from a place like Africa, you know it's much warmer. So moving from a place like Nigeria to Canada is depressing. So just keep that in mind as you make that decision. It's going to be a huge change for you. If you're coming from a place like Nigeria and then you go to and then you come to Texas, for example, it's not that huge of a change. Like, especially Houston. Houston is humid. Houston is just like Lagos. Like, Houston weather is very similar to Lagos weather. So that's, something to keep in mind. So work permits. How about after you graduate? What happens after you graduate? That's what a lot of people care about. Like, okay, I've come to school. What are the differences between Canada and the US? Canada, by far, has a better and easier immigration pathway. Like, has an easier pathway to permanent residence or citizenship than the US does. Obviously, because Canada, you guys probably know, but Canada is recruiting a lot of people to come into their country to increase their workforce. So getting a work permit after you graduate is much easier. So for example, what Canada does, I think it's called a post-work study permit in Canada. So if let's say your master's lasts 2 years, you get a work permit for 2 years after your master's. So your work permit mirrors the number of years your work permit is granted, mirrors the number of years you spent schooling in Canada. So, but most people within those 2 years, they get their permanent residency. You can apply and get a permanent residency. You can never try that in America, because America is so strict. So when you graduate in America, you do your OPT. You get an OPT visa, which lasts like 1 year. Then you get H1B. H1B, not everyone gets it. H1B is kind of like the lottery. So not everyone gets it. And you have 30 days. If you do not get an H1B visa, if you're not granted, you have 30 days to leave the US. Is it 30 or 60? Correct me in the comments if it's 30 or 60. But they do not play around with that stuff. So it's just post-work, post-study situations. It's just easier in Canada, honestly. If you don't care about, if you just want to leave your country and go somewhere else and have an easier path to citizenship or permanent residency, then definitely Canada. I mean, I've been in the US almost 11 years now, and I got my green card like 2 years ago. But if I were in Canada, I would be Canadian citizen by now. So that's just, to show. And my friend who went to Canada, I think in 2017 or 2017, she's already a citizen. And I'm still here struggling with my green card. I mean, I'm grateful, but, that's just the difference. It's much easier in Canada than in the US. But I would say though, that the US, if you just keep your head down and just hope for the best, you will get there. I mean, think about it. What is the rush to get citizenship? I mean, I'll get my citizenship in 2020. I'll get my citizenship in 2023. And it's like, well, it's 3 years from now. It doesn't matter. Like, so what? So it just depends on what. Like, it just depends on what matters to you, really. Okay, so another point to keep in mind is that Canada has way more taxes. So I remember when I got my paycheck, my first paycheck, working as a professor of public health, I saw my paycheck and I'm like, what the heck? Because obviously the taxing is huge in the US and in fact in Canada, but Canada is even worse. So Canada taxes are not a joke. But the good thing with the taxes in Canada is that you get free healthcare. But in the US you have to pay for healthcare. So I don't know, it kind of balances out somehow. Okay, so job opportunities in Canada versus the US. The US blows Canada out of the park with job opportunities. No comparison. Let's just leave it at that. No comparison. The US is a hub of technology. It's a hub of scientific research, a hub of entrepreneurship. I mean, I mean, wow, the US is awesome in that regard, right? But also there's so many people competing for those jobs versus in Canada where there's way less job opportunities, but there are way less people also. So I don't know, it kind of sort of cancels out again, because if there are less people competing for less jobs, then it's the same thing as more people competing for more jobs, right? So it kind of cancels out again. But the US, like the hub, like there's just so much opportunity. Like you're surrounded with the brightest and most brilliant minds, and it's just an incubator for growth. The US, like US companies, like think about all like Facebook, Google, what else? Microsoft, all that stuff is all in the US, concentrated in the US. I mean, imagine working around those brilliant minds. It's amazing. So the US is just an incubator for growth. And so yeah, so think, I mean, that's something to consider post before you make your choice. Make your choice. Okay. So Canada's immigration policy has played a huge role in making the student, like in making the transition from student to worker much easier than the US. Many of you know that already. So, but I would say Canada and the US is still way better than the UK. Because the UK, man, they are not playing around. Like you have to go back to your country after school. They do not joke around. So still, I would still pick Canada or the US over the UK. Okay, yeah, so those are some of the differences to keep in mind when you are considering Canada versus the US. Obviously, things are much more accelerated in Canada. Like a path to citizenship is much more accelerated and much easier if you are an expert or a professional in your field, versus the US, which is way more competitive and much slower than Canada. So yeah, so think about that. If you just want to leave your country, like leave Nigeria, for example, if you just want to leave Nigeria, you don't care about the quality of education, you definitely do not care about any of that stuff. You just want to get out and get to a school somewhere, then definitely pick Canada. If you're thinking more long term, like, oh, what university do I want to go? Even, in fact, you can even come to the US for your master's or your PhD and apply for work in Canada. And you'll probably be more competitive than Canadians since you have a US degree. So just think about that. Another option though, because my friend that I told you guys has her citizenship. Now she has a Canadian passport, so she can come to the US without a visa. So like, so it's like, what's really better though? Really, what's better? We don't know. You really cannot pick what's better, because I can't just, I mean, now I have a green card, so I can go in and out of the US like I want. But my friend who went to Canada years after me, 7 years after me, now has a Canadian passport, and she can also come in and out of the US like she wants, because she's a Canadian now. So really, there's really no sure way to this stuff. Really, there's really no sure way. You just have to trust your gut and go for it. Okay, and all will be well. All will be well. You hear me? I am so excited. I really love you guys. I'm so happy and so grateful that you keep coming back. Keep sharing this video. This is us. This is us enriching each other. This is us helping each other. This is not my channel. This is our channel. So comments in the comment section what you think. Help others too. Like, this is just a platform for us to talk about these things. Okay? All right. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.